Hey, what's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This spoiler-filled review is going to be on The Tomorrow War. It's a 2021 sci-fi action film starring Chris Pratt, an Amazon Studios original. Just checked it out, have some thoughts on it. Let's get into the film. Okay, so first starting with the cast. Chris Pratt stars in this movie, Yvonne Strahovski, J.K. Simmons, phenomenal actor, Edwin Hodge, which I enjoyed in the film. Basic premise of the film: a man is drafted to fight a future war where the fate of humanity relies on his ability to confront his past. That's a really vague and simplistic premise. Definitely more to it. Gonna get into that in a bit. Some of the stats: 53% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that's a little bit harsh. 6.8 on IMDb, a little more fair. 45% on Metacritic. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm gonna say that I did enjoy the film for what it was. It's a sci-fi action, somewhat of a horror, monster flick. There's these creatures in the movie that we find out later are aliens, which, by the way, they ripped off some of the concepts from The Thing and Aliens, but I will get into that in a bit. So yeah, continuing, the future is riddled with these like alien creatures. They've wiped out most of humanity, a lot of the animals on Earth in general, and future humanity goes back in the past to recruit more people to help in the future war. Now, Chris Pratt plays like a mild-mannered present-day science teacher, but he has a former military past. He does have experience in combat. He's drafted for this future war, and I have to say that there were some scenes in this movie that actually were pretty intense, pretty cool. Like when we actually got to first see the creatures, Chris Pratt and a small group of other soldiers, which are basically like civilians, have this mission to retrieve like these vials from this lab. And yeah, that scene was pretty intense. I was very much on the fence with this film up until that scene. Wasn't sure if I was liking it or not. And after that scene with the first encounter with these creatures and aliens, I was like, all right, this is not that bad. Because I felt like the design of the creatures was pretty cool. The CGI was pretty solid. And that first scene kind of reminded me of Aliens. Speaking of aliens, like I said, there were concepts definitely inspired and borrowed from The Thing and the Alien franchise. I mean, there's a scene in this movie where they set off these charges in a very snowy region of Russia, I believe. And it's like this scene with these people and these soldiers standing there at the edge of this crater. I mean, almost like a carbon copy of the scene in The Thing, John Carpenter's, where the Norwegians uncovered the spaceship. And guess what? It's a spaceship that they uncovered in the ice that's been there for thousands of years. So definitely like a borrowed concept. In The Thing, it was like theorized that possibly the Thing creature was like a bioweapon, something that was being transported by the original like alien pilots. Same with the Alien franchise, where the xenomorphs may have been bioweapons, just cargo. And then of course they stumble across that derelict ship with all the eggs. And in this movie, The Tomorrow War, there's like these pods that house the creatures, and it's like a really similar thing. I mean, they even mention that they're possibly cargo or weapons. So I thought that was kind of like lame. It was pretty predictable. Called it while I was watching it. I mean, don't get me wrong, overall I did enjoy the film. I do think it's worth a watch, especially if like you're bored and have nothing to do. Is the movie worth like a movie ticket? But for streaming, yeah, it's great. So a few more positives before I get into any more gripes. I mean, it was action packed. I feel like there was adequate character development. I feel like the acting was pretty decent for the type of film it was. I did like the CGI. I didn't think that they cheaped out with the CGI at all. It's very hard to use CGI to make creatures look believable, especially in the daylight. And I think they did a great job with these creatures. But one really big gripe that bothered me while watching this, it kind of like semi-ruined the film for me. Spoilers, obviously. Was towards the end of the movie when they're trying to wipe these things out with like this serum or toxin they developed. There's a scene in the movie like right at the end where J.K. Simmons, Chris Pratt's father in the film, they're battling like a female They're battling like a female creature, which is like an egg layer, which is one that could like spawn more of these creatures. So it's really imperative that they stop this thing. And there's like a few scenes where they're actually fighting this thing almost hand to hand. Like at one point, Chris Pratt like jumps on his back, slits his throat. They blind this thing, and he's over here like with a weapon in his hand, slashing, stabbing, and fighting this thing hand to hand. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, right. A freaking tiger will kill your ass. A bear, let alone like a 7-8 foot alien creature with claws, gnarly teeth, tentacles. I mean, I don't care if this thing is blind. That was just like totally ridiculous to me. Now granted, there's time travel in this movie, there's alien spaceships, there's alien creatures. I understand it's fantasy, science fiction, just a movie, but Jesus H. Christ. Chris Pratt was going like MMA on this thing, and I'm like, ah man, just totally kind of like killed the movie for me, dropped it down a few notches. But besides that scene, prior to that, overall, the movie was fun. It was enjoyable. Would I recommend this movie? Yes, I would. What's my letter grade for it, for being a science fiction action kind of like monster flick? I'm gonna give the Tomorrow War a B. I think that's a really fair grade. I liked it. Would I want to see a sequel? Maybe not. But for a one-shot deal, it was fun. I just don't like, again, how they kind of like bit off of Alien and The Thing. That was pretty lame. And you can't tell me that they didn't. They definitely did. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comment section if you saw the film. What did you think about it? Did you enjoy it? What would you rate it and grade it? Would you recommend it to anybody? What were your likes and dislikes of the film? Any plot holes? Drop those as well. Thanks so much, guys, for watching this short review. If you enjoyed it and this is your first time at the channel, consider hitting that sub button. Like and share helps the channel grow. Appreciate it, guys. And until the next review, you all take care.